So this is one of those rare occurrences where I actually agree with something that Comtour said on one of their social media channels a few months back. They mentioned that WOOCHI is one of the most underrated Nat 4s in the game, which I actually agree with. I mean, to a point, WOOCHI is not necessarily the best unit for endgame PvP, but he is a unit that a lot of people don't give enough credit for. He was a unit that back in the beginning of Summoners War, people were like, oh, he's a TOA hard unit, cool, and then other things came out. I mean, he got buffed a few times since then, but other things came out and they're like, oh, he's not really as good as any of these other new things that came out that are much better than him. However, with the addition of TOA Hell, where there's new stipulations where things can't quite be CC'd, WOOCHI is a fantastic unit for especially TOA Hell, and that's why I brought this guy back out of my box, back out of my storage. He's still in my box. Back out of my storage because I have been using him for TOA Hell. He's a great unit for TOA Hell, especially or mostly because of his buffs that he got over the past year. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I mentioned this a couple weeks back in another video, but he got buffs to his third skill. This kind of flew under the radar because it's WOOCHI. People don't really care too much about WOOCHI. And that's why it flew under the radar. Attacks all enemies by playing the Magic Flute, sets their attack bar to 0, which is nice. AoE decrease attack bar completely. Think about like Varad or Shungpung. He's basically like a 4-star version of Shungpung, right? Kind of. He's not as good as Shungpung. Don't get me wrong. He's not as good as Shungpung. But for those of you that don't have Shungpung, fantastic replacement. He just doesn't increase the cooldowns. But you also have things like the Dark Pixie. You have things like the Fire Succubus that are easy, that are replacements for if you need to get decreased cooldowns on things. But in addition, decreases the skill cooldown of all allies by 1 turn each. So he doesn't decrease the cooldowns of the enemies, but he does decrease your allies' skill cooldowns. This is especially good for things that have long skill 3 cooldowns. So you can even use this with other CC units, but the nice thing about this is I've been using this for TOA Hell for things where you can't quite CC things like, oh, things if it's immune to crowd control effects. Well, what do you do? You need what do you do to stop the enemies from absolutely destroying you? You have to decrease their attack gauge over and over and over. He also has decreased attack gauge on here, but I'm not super excited about this skill. It's really not that high of a chance, and it's not that much of an attack gauge decrease. He still does have 2 AoEs, which is nice. If you want to put him on Despair for certain things, again, if it's immune to CC, you can't really do much with Despair, so of course Valiant would be better, but he's still a great unit for basically PvE content. He's not... You can use him in PvP, like we've said. People have used him in RTA with some other really nasty things that have long cooldowns on skill 3. So you can definitely use him here or use him in PvP. But I just think the best place for him is like TOA Hell. Also, he's not a bad unit for Giants for beginners, for early game players, because all you have to really focus on is make him fast, give him good accuracy, and that's about it. Make him fast and give him good accuracy. And because we're thinking about like. A lot of endgame players are just doing speed runs of Giants, doing speed runs of other dungeons, things like that. But this is really the reason that I took him out of storage, and I've actually been caring about him again lately is for TOA Hell. But he's really mostly for PvE. So he's got this glancing hit and attack power break, which is good for bosses, again, like I said. And the nice thing about dungeons, him in dungeons just in general, is he just decreases the attack gauge of all the enemies. Things like towers are not, you can't stun towers, you can't CC towers, so anything that you can't CC, which he's actually pretty good for. He's a great replacement for if you don't have Shungpung and the opponents can't be CC'd. So let's, I'm sure we're actually taking him into things already and playing things, so let's see some more WOOCHI gameplay. Another nice thing about him, just as a remark, is that you don't have to worry about how to skill him up because he's easily skilled up with 3-star Fire Taoists. You don't have to worry about Devilmons. You don't have to worry about other 4-stars. Like, if you are running out of Devil, you're like, do I skill up this Kaki with Devilmons? Do I skill up this Lucian with Devilmons? I don't quite have the skills for it. I don't have 4-star skills for it, so you could just skill him up with 3 stars. Very easy. He's actually a pretty decent unit. I'm not saying he's the most OP ridiculous unit in the world, but he's a unit that we don't really give enough credit to because he's actually a pretty usable unit. So, usable unit, super easy, does not require a whole lot of resources to build, does not require a whole lot of premium runes, make him fast, give him good accuracy. That's about it. Let's see some more gameplay with WOOCHI.